Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I want to talk about a few life hacks that should be obvious once you hear, and especially once you digest them, but we live in a world where the obvious is often made convoluted, and I've talked extensively about all of these life hacks in many of my videos, but usually I talk about them as they come along, and I think the people who need to see them all in one place probably have not seen all of them yet. Okay, so last weekend I went to see the Mario movie. It's now my favorite movie, I want to say, and I'm glad that I discovered this life hack, because otherwise I might not have gone to see the movie. See, in the past, there were times that I didn't go to an event or a movie because I didn't have a date to bring to the movie. Actually, I was getting ready to see Toy Story 4. This was, 4 years ago now. And I realized I hadn't seen Toy Story 3 yet. And I was like, gee, why haven't I seen Toy Story 3? It was like, oh, because at the time, I didn't want to go to the movie without a date. And so I got a copy of Toy Story 3, saw it, and then I went to see Toy Story 4. What was really funny was that at the time of Toy Story 4, I did have a date, and I needed time away from her to go see the movie. Sometimes when I'm dating somebody, it's really hard to find alone time. Sometimes my girlfriend will think that I'm cheating on her. I've had that kind of problems before. And so it just brought back really funny memories when I thought back to the reason why I didn't see Toy Story 3, and now that I want to take some time by myself to see Toy Story 4. So I went to see Mario alone this time, and the movie played just the same as if I had gone with a date. And the same can be said for a lot of other activities. There is one special case where there is some prejudice against singles. I talked about this in another video. I hope to address that in the coming months. I'll talk about it when it comes, because I want to keep this video positive. But by and large, anything you could do with a partner, you can probably do without. Right? The only real exception I can think of is if you want to have biological children, right? Even then, you can probably find a surrogate parent, right? But repeat after me. Anything I can do with a partner, I can do without. Repeat that after me. Okay. Now, getting on to my more recent life hacks, I discovered that pulling all-nighters and getting yourself sleep-deprived often backfires. So you pull an all-nighter to do something, and then you end up doing half of it wrong. The next day you mess up other things, you mess up your relationships. Maybe you even get into a car accident, and then you got to deal with fixing the car, when you could have spent a whole lot less time just getting enough sleep the first time around, right? I've noticed that in my everyday life. It's a lot better to do things once and do them right. And often that means getting enough sleep, being well rested. I see so many of my colleagues miss sleep. They do things wrong at work. Unfortunately, a lot of workplaces are toxic to begin with, right? They measure your work output by how many hours you spend at the office lounging around, making mistakes, and making gossip at the workplace. That's what qualifies for how hard people work here in the United States, right? I think that's backwards. See, I used to think that Europeans were lazy. They took, 2 months of vacation every year, and they take like years of maternity leave. And then I come to realize they work smart. We just like to have FaceTime, right? Similarly in Japan, right? They tend to, we think of them as hardworking, but they also play very hard when they do play, right? So I write computer games, and a lot of the Japanese there play games until they die, pretty much, right? There have been cases where teenagers have played video games to death, unfortunately. So get some sleep, do things right, do them right the first time, and be done with it, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't get you very far here in the United States, right? If you get 10 hours of work done correctly in 1 hour, and then you go home and sleep, you're probably going to get fired, right? That's the unfortunate part, right? I'll have to address that at my workplace if that happens. I would hope that that's not the kind of attitude that's common where I now work, but remains to be seen. I just started my new job. Let's talk a little bit about healthy eating. A lot of my friends tell me that they love the taste of their food. They can't give it up. I gotta point out something. 20 years ago, when I was eating a lot of junk food, I used to love drink a lot of soda. My favorite fast food restaurant was Burger King. Nowadays, I eat a lot of seaweed. I eat a lot of coconuts. A lot of fish. I'm trying to think of some healthy foods that I've eaten recently. A lot of green stuff for sure. Now, if you were charting how happy my taste buds were, do you think they're happier today or they were 20 years ago? I'll let you ponder that for a second. Now, here's the thing, though. Taste is also not everything, right? These past 3 years, there were 3 occasions when I completely lost my sense of taste for you know what reason, right? Because somebody in Wuhan decided they needed to taste something really special. But life didn't stop. I discovered new things during all 3 of those times. I watched some YouTube videos. I may have even discovered a few new songs that I never heard before. I wrote some new computer games. And the last time this happened, that probably planted the seeds for my recent Bismuth art. I didn't really start doing it at that time, but I browsed the internet a little bit, and I think that planted the seeds for my current Bismuth art. My point is that life doesn't stop when you have to change what you're tasting, right? Taste isn't everything. Repeat those 3 words after me, please. Taste isn't everything. Taste isn't everything. Not to mention that food tastes a whole lot better when you're not poisoning your taste buds with crap all the time. See, my family and I used to argue a lot because I didn't like traveling to my family's home in Taiwan. I had a big fear of flying as it was because of 9/11 was still fresh in everybody's mind. But we get to Taiwan and I'd want to go look for Burger King, and gotta keep in mind, you know, my family doesn't want to go halfway around the world just to sit down at a Burger King, right? Not to mention it's a little bit more expensive over there. And so I almost didn't want to go with my family sometimes. Do you think I was really enjoying my taste buds when I'm fighting with my family over a trip to Taiwan, over food preferences? Or do you think I enjoy my taste buds now when I actually sit down to a meal that's healthy and nourishing to me? And also, we have 5 senses, right? Unfortunately, if you were charting like how much entertainment we get out of all 5 of them, I would argue that for most Americans, taste pretty much dwarfs everything else, right? I guess we do love to look at art, we love to listen to music, but for the most part, it's taste, right? Even when we use the other senses, we still need to put something in our mouths, right? I think that's just lopsided, right? I want you to enjoy all 5 of your senses, right? And even a 6th sense, if you will, right? But all of these things should be really obvious, right? I hate to be the one to point out these life hacks. I mean, it should be pretty obvious that life goes on with or without a partner, and you should go enjoy the spoils of life. It should go without saying that food tastes a whole lot better when you're not overwhelming your taste buds with crap, right? It should go without saying that it's a lot easier to do things right the first time when you get enough rest, right? It really, all of these things should go without saying, and I really hate to be the one to point these out. It's kind of like pointing out like something that should be obvious. Kind of like nowadays, you can't even